Hello, this is Anthony. Let's walk and talk. So in this video, we're going to have a little discussion about another little favorite pastime of exploration of mine, which is our history. And in talking about that, what I want to talk about is essentially the undeniable truth that the history that you've been told or led to believe is not accurate. And we're going to talk about that, and then we're also going to discuss a little bit about why that's an important thing. You see, in my travels, I've been blessed to have been able to visit a lot of different places. You know, and I talk about sometimes on this channel some of these subjects, as I've mentioned in the past. If we were friends and we were having a conversation would span a variety of different things. So we're going to talk about the fact that, having the ability or having had the opportunity to see a lot of these ancient sites, such as the pyramids and Machu Picchu and Ayutthaya, Angkor Wat, and many of the sites. The advantages are you get to see things up close and in detail, and not only in detail but also in scale, because a lot of times when you see videos, they just don't do justice to the site. Now, the reason that this is so important is because as I continue to explore and see what's out there for me to try to better understand our history and why it's important, there's an undeniable truth, and that undeniable truth is it is factual, undeniable, that we have found entire cities that are submerged underwater. Now you might say, well, why is this important? Why is it that you get fixated on something like that? Well, because the only massive flood event that we are aware of is the Younger Dryas event, which happened, I believe, roughly 12,500 years ago. And the reason that's important, and the reason that it's, for me, undeniable truth, is because it is pretty apparent that these ancient cities, they weren't built underwater. No, they were overcome by water. They were flooded. And in being flooded, they are now submerged. And again, knowing that the only event that could have done that we are aware of is that Younger Dryas impact at 12,500 years ago. Essentially what it does is it paints a completely different picture of our past and of what we're being told about our past. Because even as we look at some of the sites, like the ancient pyramids and Angkor Wat, you see very, very sophisticated architecture, very, very sophisticated building techniques, things that use a high level of mathematics and survey, and things that when you begin to look at them and understand them better, you begin to understand that these were people who had advanced technology. These were people who understood things in a way that we've yet to reach. Now, why is this important? Why do we need to understand this? Why do we need to embrace this? Because without full acceptance, we continue to go down the same paths we've always gone down. The paths where you have, groups such as archaeologists and whatnot, which get together and they come up with a nice, tidy little answer, and they stick it in a box and close the box and say, here's what the answer is. Even though there are so many questions that can't be answered in that with the things that they place in that box. In fact, not even close to being answered. And then you have people left and right trying to do tests and experiments to debunk things and try to recreate situations, and they can't. I I have yet to explore some of the pyramids in Mexico, but I'm sure that is on my path. As I watched some information on, I think it's Teotihuacan. I always mess that up. In Mexico, the city of the gods, where, for instance, the pyramid of the sun and the pyramid of the moon exist. And in watching that, you start to see and understand that they're using materials that we even know have properties for conducting electricity and things. And what happens is because we are so resistant to believe that there's really a chance that they had advanced technology, we rule out the certain things that we discover, and then we try to come up with these silly little explanations for why we think these things were here. Oh, they were for ornate ceremonial things. And it just so happens that all these ornate ceremonial things are things that conduct electricity and things that can be used in advanced technology, such as the discovery of mercury, big pools of mercury underneath the pyramid of the sun, as well as mica, as well as also little balls that were covered in kind of a gold. And the issue with not looking at these things and trying to address these things in a more profound manner, and just saying, oh, they're ornate, or they don't know what these things were. The issue that you run into is that you take away the understanding that these things could have been used for highly technological properties. And again, when you see entire cities that are submerged underwater, and that had to be 12,500 years ago, it really rewrites human history in the way that we've been told. Then we start to have to question some of these other ancient megaliths, like the pyramids. What were they used for, actually? And how long have they actually been in existence? You see, we get these we get these little things like, oh, they're 5,000 years old. And when you look at them and when you visit them, you recognize that the scale required to complete such a task it's just, in the time frame we're told, is just not possible. The ego wants to categorize these things, but it's just not possible. So again, why is it important? What if the history is off, Anthony? Why does that matter? Why is that important? Well, it's important because it changes everything. Meaning, most people don't look at life in a very profound manner. They look at life from an aspect of ego. Right now, we sit in an environment where we're told that we're an accident. That somehow there are all sorts of suggestions of how we got here, transpermia, and we, appeared as a fish with a lung that emerged from some primordial soup, which then became mammals, which then became apes. Maybe apes evolved into humans, or apes took mushrooms, as some people say, and that evolved their brain to become humans. But the truth is the more you start to see the history, you start to understand that if that is even possible, that happened hundreds of thousands of years ago, and we had an advanced technological society on this planet before us. When you look at the way that the climate has changed over the existence of the Earth, and they know this based on core samples that they've tapped that show the different amounts of oxygen and nitrogen and hydrogen that were in the atmosphere, and so they can, using that, they can graph out what the climate of the planet looked like. There were 4 different times in our existence that man could have existed, evolved, and become highly technological. So we are in, I believe, the 4th, or we are in the 5th, but I think it's the 4th event that could occur. And the reason that's important, and the reason there's value in that, is because when you then understand that we've been here before, that we've been highly technologically advanced before, we're not an accident. And when we're not an accident, then we can start asking the deeper questions of, why do we do the things we do? Why do we consume the way we consume? What is our deeper connection to the universe? Is there something else out there? And is there more out there for us to explore? As well as is there more here that we need to explore? And in all that, even if you take the conspiracy out of it, I mean, is there still technology that we could learn from that could help us to mature ourselves in a more rapid manner, to allow the ego to calm and to allow there to be more peace and harmony on our planet? You see, my belief now and always has been, we are all brothers and sisters here. Consciousness does not emanate here. Consciousness emanates in the universe. And all that is conscious is us, and we are connected to the all. But what say you? How do you feel about that subject? Do you have an interest in the history of humanity, or is it just every once in a while you see a video and you're just curious as to my thoughts on it? As always, if you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe. I am truly grateful. And until I talk to you again, peace, love, light. Hope you have the most amazing day.